Well, good morning and welcome to everyone. I am Joy Neely, President of Women in High Tech, and today it's my privilege to welcome you to the first Executive Women's Forum of 2024. We are thrilled to have so many of you join us virtually today to explore Chat GPT. I think this is the biggest virtual Executive Women's Forum we've ever had, so very excited. So why are we here today? As you know, AI is in the headlines every single day, and I wanted to share a couple statistics with you before we get started. The AI market size is expected to reach 407 billion by 2027, and the market is projected to reach a staggering 407 billion, expecting substantial growth from its estimated 86.9 billion in revenue by 2022. A McKinsey report predicts that between 2016 and 2030, AI-related advancements may affect around 15% of the global workforce. According to the World Economic Forum research, AI is projected to create around 97 million new jobs, potentially countering workforce displacement concerns. And hopefully we'll see many women in these new jobs. All of this every day, all at once, everyone's talking about AI, but do we know how to use it? And I'm hoping today we'll get some tidbits from Donna on how we can actually use it more effectively. And so for the first Executive Women's Forum, we're really excited to not just talk about AI, but have a phenomenal speaker who's going to show us how to use Chat GPT. I can't wait for these hints because I've just started dipping my toe into Chat GPT myself. I have a lot to learn. So before diving into today's presentation and introducing our speaker, I just want to take a little time to talk about women in high tech for any newcomers that may not know about our organization. This year, we are thrilled because we have an exciting milestone. We're celebrating 25 years as a nonprofit STEM organization serving Central Indiana. So you'll see a lot of events sprinkled throughout the year to celebrate our 25th anniversary. As many of you know, our mission is to cultivate a more inclusive landscape for women in science, technology, engineering, and math. So we are truly a STEM-focused organization, while our name may be Women in High Tech. We accomplish this through many initiatives, such as K-12 programming, professional development events like this one we're having today, networking events, STEM circles, and by honoring our women and allies at our biannual Leading Light Awards and Scholarship Gala. So that's this coming October, so stay tuned. There'll be opportunities to apply for scholarships or to nominate your companies for different awards. Be sure to check out our website or LinkedIn for all the upcoming events. There's also near-term opportunities to connect with our networking family event on March 9th, Operation All on March 13th in Fort Wayne, or one of our favorite biannual networking events at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on May 15th. And we're going to be bringing back a lot of our alumni at this event, so it should be a great time. Additionally, within the last week, we did open some of our board positions on the website for our upcoming board season, which runs from July to July each year. And so if you're interested, please explore these roles. And so that's some of our insights from Q1. But before I hand the mic over to Linda Calvin, our Executive Women Forum Director, I wanted to share that after 4 years, which we've been thrilled to have Linda on the board for the last 4 years, today she's going to host her last EWF and in July move to Emeritus. So if you're interested in taking the baton from Linda and applying for the Executive Women Forum Director position, please reach out to her to learn more, or go to our website at womeninhightech.org to learn more about these roles. You only have until April 10th, so please do not delay. But for now, I'd like to introduce you to the wonderful and amazing Linda Calvin. She is truly the driving force behind our Executive Women's Forums. And we've had over the last 4 years so many exceptional topics and speakers, and today is a great example of that. So thank you so much, Linda.
Thank you, Joy, and thank you everyone for joining. I'm totally geeked about this session today. And first, before I get started, happy Women's History Month. We're making history today. We're making history every day. And I'm going to ask you for a quick exercise. We're going to still move forward. But what I would like and invite you to do is in the chat, type the name of a woman who you believe is making history now. So it can be someone from the past, but also we want to celebrate those women who are forging paths now. So is there someone you personally know, someone, a thought leader, someone in STEM, but a woman who is making history right now. And I'm going to share mine. I'm not going to type mine in the chat, but I'm going to share mine. And she's not in STEM. And the woman doesn't have to be in STEM. My apologies. Is Supreme Court Justice KBJ Ketanji Jackson. I am so thrilled. The first Black female Supreme Court Justice. I already have a stuffed doll of her in my office, and I have a t-shirt. I'm not wearing it today. I'm wearing my Empowered Women's t-shirt today. But making history, made history, and I'm so excited for it. When you see us, you can be us, right? So, hey, enter your answer in the chat. I invite you to. We'd love to hear from you. And also, please type your questions in the Q&A. You can ask those questions. We are going to make sure that this is interactive. We don't want to wait until the end for questions. But oh my gosh, somebody put Linda Galvin. Thank you. Oh my gosh. We're not going to wait until the end for questions. We're going to really try to make this engaging for you. So great. Thank you so much for joining. And now I want to introduce to you someone who's completely awesome. Before I do that, I'm just going to share some data because we love data, right? Data is the fuel for AI. So I'm going to share some data with you. So Joy shared a few stats with you, but let me share a few more. And these stats I want us to consider because we want to disrupt history, right? We want to be the women to disrupt history. So according to a 2020 World Economic Forum report, women make up only 26% of AI and data positions in the workforce. A 2021 AI Index report by Stanford Institute for Human-Centered AI, Dr. Fei Li, who is also like so awesome to me, found that women make up only 16% of tenure track faculty focused on AI globally. Other studies have found that only 10 to 15% of machine learning researchers and leading tech companies are women. Women account for less than 25% of AI specialists, only 14% of the cloud computing workforce, and only 20% of engineers. In 2022, only 1 in 4 researchers publishing on AI worldwide was a woman. A 2019 report by UNESCO found that only 12% of AI researchers and just 6% of professional software developers are women. And a survey has revealed a substantial gap in AI adoption between men and women. The survey reports that 54% of men have incorporated AI into their personal professional lives, while that figure dropped significantly to only 35% for women. So we are here today because we're going to address that. We want to share awesome information with you so you can start incorporating and embracing it and considering where you want to take AI. Because at the end of the day, and I'm going to quote from Dr. Fei Li, I saw her speak at Microsoft at the end of January, and she says, artificial intelligence was created by people, for people, and should be governed by people. So this is about us, and we can set the stage and we can set the tone for AI and how we want to use it and see it used in life. So with that, now I'm going to get to this introduction. And this introduction is pretty amazing. So bear with me while I do it. So please welcome Dona Sarkar. She is the chief troublemaker. I love that title. I had troublemaker as a title, but not in like the good way. And it's in the husbandly way. You're a troublemaker, Linda. Stop giving me honey-do lists. But she is the chief troublemaker for CoPilot and AI Extensibility at Microsoft. In her current role, she is building an AI extensibility program to enable developers to reason over their own data using AI and Copilot products. She has been in the tech industry for over 12 years, and as she shares, despite decades of shenanigans, she remains unfired and unjailed. So all right for that. Before this role, she ran the accessibility tech and inclusive design investments for all of Microsoft, making sure that 1 billion plus people with disabilities and others with neurodivergence and mental health concerns can count on tech to be a trusty sidekick. And I love that. Thank you for that. Donna also led an advocacy team for Power Platform at Microsoft, a tool set specifically for entrepreneurs to solve their business problems. She was also chief Ninja Cat of the Windows Insider Program at Microsoft, one of the biggest communities of people in the world, 21 billion. She has also worked on developer engagement for HoloLens, the world's first holographic computer. And let me take a breath. And finally, in her spare time, she's writing fiction and nonfiction books to help young professionals have the careers of their dreams, running an ethical luxury fashion line for women and men called Prima Donna, coaching entrepreneurs in emerging markets, saying words on stages all over the world, and in her words, coming up with some really schemy schemes. So first, wow, that's amazing. I'm so glad to have you here. Donna, wow, you're amazing. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you, all of you, for inviting me. I'm loving seeing all of the people tuning into this because, like we were talking about before, AI is a big equalizer. Women didn't have a big say in defining the workplace 50 years ago, but now we have a say in defining the workplace, and we need to get in it, right? All of these women who all of you named in the chat are people who are doing the thing in the world. They're not passively letting by and letting things happen to them. They're out there happening to things. And we all, right now, all 94 plus of us, have a chance to go out and happen to things for the next 100 years or more. So I'm so happy to be here with you because what we're seeing here is an origin story of everybody here who's involved has a chance to go redefine the next 10, 20, 50 years.
I love that happening, that we are happening to things. I love that.
Yep.
I will always attribute that to you, but I'm using that later in a LinkedIn
Please
post.
do.
So follow me, people, follow me. And I'm in a room where the light just went off, if you saw it dim, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We're going to forge on because actually I think I like the light better. So let's get this party started, shall we? And let me start off by saying this. Last March, we hosted, Donna, what you need to know about AI. But we talked about AI at a high level. We talked about the jobs. We talked about essentially what it kind of was. And we really had a really great conversation. But we didn't really talk about GPT. So what I decided to do was I asked Chat GPT what AI is, and here's the answer. So I'm going to set you up. AI, or artificial intelligence, refers to the simulation of human intelligence processes by machines, especially computer systems. These processes include learning, the acquisition of information and rules for using the information, reasoning, using the rules to reach approximate or definite conclusions, and self-correction. AI is used in various applications such as speech recognition, natural language processing, image recognition, and decision-making. So, wow, that was a lot. So tell us what your definition of AI is. And then on top of that, what's generative AI?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to share with you a set of slides because showing it visually is actually going to help. It helped me a lot. So let me do this. And Linda, let me know when you can see this. We're going to do a lot of back and forth from slidery to non-slidery.
Can see it. We can see it.
Cool. Okay. So first of all, people think AI showed up last year. And that is not true. So artificial intelligence, which is the entire practice of, okay, so first of all, people think AI showed up last year, and that is not true. So artificial intelligence, which is the entire practice of humans and machines working together to solve problems. That's all. And it's actually been around since the 1950s, where Alan Turing coined this term called the Turing test, where we were trying to decipher whether an output created is done by machine or it's done by humans. The AI of yesteryear is something that's been in your life this whole time. It's things like facial recognition in pictures. So for example, if you tag, say you have a set of data and you tag that data to be dog, cat, dog, cat, and you upload a new picture of a cat, AI is able to say this is a cat just based on computer vision and identifying characteristics of the pictures that have come before. So that is artificial intelligence, and the practice of doing it is called machine learning. I studied it back in 1997. Okay, so it was back in the day. It was very tedious. You had to tag each image. So it was a very it was kind of a tedious activity. It wasn't the most fun, but you learned a lot during this process. But it was a very manual process. But around 2016, 2018 era, there's this concept called the transformer that was invented. And the transformer, what it does is it's able to generate new things based on an existing data set. And it's able to generate new things based on relational context. So based on a bunch of pictures of cats, it can generate you a new picture of cat, a different kind of cat. Now, what is very interesting is that this concept is generative AI because it generates. And a lot of people, they get hung up on this because they say, oh, AI is giving me wrong answers. And I say that might be true because you're not doing a find or a search like we're used to. We're so used to search engines pulling data from existing sources. We're not used to this new concept called generative AI, which is generating new information. So that is actually what I find AI most useful for, is generating new things rather than just retrieving what exists necessarily. So this concept of generative AI has lit this fire under, when we talk about AI, and that's primarily what we're going to talk about. So let's talk about what it means. You've all heard of a thing called Chat GPT. It came out November 30th, 2022, causing chaos right throughout the land. Suddenly everyone's using it. Like your dad's calling you asking, how do I get more tokens? And I'm thinking, why do you know what that word is? It's suddenly these terms that only I knew, everyone knows. My 8th grade teacher's like, I need to know about LLMs. And I'm like, why? What's happening in the world? But funnily enough, ChatGPT was not supposed to go out to the whole world. It was supposed to be released to a group of researchers by OpenAI, the company. And it was supposed to be going out to like a smaller audience. I mean, it's not very normal to call a product ChatGPT 3.5. That's not generally like a consumer product, right, for the universe.
Right. That's an IT term.
Exactly. That's an IT term. So what GPT stands for is Generative Pre-trained Transformer. And I'll walk you through what this means. So generative, meaning generate new data based on existing input, okay, generative. Pre-trained, meaning it was trained offline. So the data set was trained offline, stopped in probably December. And that's why it's not a good thing to pull out like, what was the latest news article on whatever, unless that thing is connected to the internet and also combines web searches and AI results at the same time. And the third thing is that thing called a transformer, where it's relational, right? It says it's based on a thing called a neural network. So what are words that are nearest to the input words? So I'm going to actually walk you through how a large language model like ChatGPT works. Okay. So ChatGPT is based on a thing called an LLM. That's a term you might hear from. It's called a large language model. And a large language model takes input, processes them, and gives you an output, just like the ChatGPT box. So I'll walk you through how it does it. It's to show you that it is not actually magic. It is just a bunch of weird math. So imagine there's a string, like an input. You type into the box, we go to work by train. Okay. So what the language model does is it parses each word into a thing called a token. So a token is somewhere between 4 to 6 characters. Think of it like a syllable, okay? So you hear the word tokens a lot. We're like, we need 20,000 tokens. I'm like, probably don't need 20,000 tokens to do what you're trying to do. It's okay. So right now you see 6 tokens here. We go to work by train. Yeah, this many tokens. So it breaks them into these tokens. Now, what the LLMs first do is look at each word, each token, and it finds it in the data set and says, what are other words in the data set that are near the chosen word? Okay, so let's choose the word work. Okay, and in the data set, it's saying it's finding a bunch of articles, a bunch of blog posts that's like downtown, how much, roof, pride, hard work, money. All of these words are somewhere near the word work in the data set. Once it does that, it's able to say, here are a set of words that are near the word work in the data set, and here's a set of words that are not near the word work. So a set of words that are near the word are before, rewarding, creative, teams, produced, all of these things. Not near it are like polka, zebra, swing dancing, etc. So we're like, these words not related, these words related. So once it does this, it's able to establish a value to each one. And the closer the value is, it's able to say, the closer to 0 the value is, it's like, this is very much like the word work. So job and work, almost interchangeable. Collaborative and work, not as interchangeable, but close. Polka and word, no, not close at all, far away. So this setting is called a temperature. Okay, it's called a temperature. So when you're in a mode in a GPT or whatever, and you're saying use creative mode, then you're looking at temperature higher. If you're looking at be precise and specific, you're looking at lower temperature. So you're saying see closer words in the data set versus further away words in the data set. So that's why sometimes when you're doing creative work, you get like out of left field answers. And when you're doing more specific work, you get much closer. And I'm going to show you an example using the Microsoft Copilot, because that's the one I know how to use. But you could do this in anything. So this is a good visualization to kind of explain what these vectors, which is the groups of words that are related and groups of words that are not, look like. You can see that if you have the word called sea, the vectors look very similar, because sea and ocean probably have the same words near it in the data set. Meanwhile, the words football and soccer will have similar words, but the words sea and football will be completely different, right? So that's all it is. That's how it works. It chooses the nearest words. That's all. That's all. Everyone's like, oh my God, it's magic. It's reading my mind. What's in my head? I say, no, 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 no. It's just taking commonly written text in the world. Probably we've all seen the same 1,000 blog posts and using it to generate new things. Now, when you give it an input, like use my article or use my email, now it's overwriting whatever's in the data set with yours, prioritizing it, and then generating the thing. Cool?
Yes.
Perfect. So I will stop sharing and come back to you.
All right. Okay. So that was really interesting, because I wonder, and I was thinking about it last night, and I was playing with Chat GPT, and I was like, why? I told it to use the word transcendent. And I said, use the word transcendent to describe speech. And it used the word transcend over and over, but it used transcend, transcendent, and transcendence.
Yes.
So it was really figuring out, and it made sense. Now, what it said was, I was like, oh, I would never describe my speech like that. But it was pretty amazing. So I understand it now. So temperature, right? Which is low temp, high temp. High temp means I'm going to go out like this and give you a word. Low temp means I want it precise. So if I say work, I mean the actual physical.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. So, I have a question for you. And my question is, I've used Chat GPT, and I use it a lot to see, how does this email read, right? And sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. I've used Chat GPT to refine email and some posts. My husband used it to create a background for one of his Dungeons and Dragons characters. So if anybody out there loves Dungeons and Dragons, you can use Chat GPT to create a background for one of your characters. But these are fun, kind of fun things. And last night I told it to, can you give me a picture of, and I knew it couldn't, right? But can you give me a picture of a beautiful black Medusa? And it said, I can't give you a picture, but I can describe what a beautiful black Medusa is. And so it did. So these are fun things. But can you share with us, what are some use cases for our daily work, for the things that we're doing?
Okay, so I'm going to share screen again, because I think explaining, I'm a visual person, and I think many, many people are. So I'm going to just describe what we're seeing. First of all, you're very, very used to, I'm just going to move this little bar down so I can see better. You are very used to ChatGPT, but let me explain to you Microsoft Copilot, only because I don't think you should necessarily all switch to Microsoft Copilot. I think it all depends on the use case. There's no one AI tool that's better than all the other AI tools. The media will have you believe that this is the tool. Everyone should use this tool. It all is situational. It's completely and utterly situational. And I use probably 4 of them. I recommend you get very familiar with one of them and get, say, these are the use cases that are great for this. These are the use cases that are great for that. Like Microsoft, because we're a company that makes products, we have AI built into our products. So PowerPoint now has CoPilot in it. So you'd say, make me a slide deck for the Women in High Tech Forum explaining AI to a group of women who are going to change the world. So it would generate me a PowerPoint based on that, right? But if I was using Chat GPT to say, be a helpful assistant in the office, then I would just use Chat GPT, right? So let me show you something in Microsoft Copilot. So you go to copilot.microsoft.com, and this is free. And here down, you're going to see this thing called settings, this conversational style, right? So in conversational style, we're going to go back to that thing we talked about. So precise mode, where temperature is 0. So it's going to be more specific. Creative, which is temperature is going to be like 1, 1.5. Above 1.5, things get weird. So in code, it's set to 1.5. And then there's balanced, which is somewhere in the middle. So default, it goes to balance mode. When I'm doing something like summarize this article, I want a specific summary. I don't need a creative summary. So I would put precise mode. When I'm doing something like, oh, let me brainstorm, 10 ideas to do something, then I would probably go to creative mode. Okay. So let me show you this new thing, though, that I find very useful. So I am neurodivergent. That means I like to see things. I sometimes forget my prompt. Okay, so I'll write a prompt and I'll forget what the prompt was. So here I think I didn't explain how I did that. You go to this thing called notebook mode. Okay, up here at the top, it says notebook. And this helps you see the prompt side by side. Here's your prompt, here's your results, and then you can modify the prompt and get new results. So this way you don't have to wipe out the prompt, start all over. So let me do a demonstration of something that I just recently needed. I work with a set of educators, and educators are right now getting worried because they're saying,
Yes.
us as educators need to learn how to use ChatGPT and AI because we have to be able to guide our students because all students are using it. And I mean, all students are using it. And we need to be able to give them guidance. Saying don't use it is not helpful. So how can we give them guidance? And I said, okay, let's start with what is AI. So I want to give them the spiel I just gave you. And what is AI even, right? It's not really cheating. You're generating new things. Okay, we've been doing that forever. And then it's using like specific sources. So I said, I want to teach a group of educators in Seattle, Washington, on how to use AI at work. Come up with 5 topics and put them into a table. So I say this because I am dyslexic and it's easier for me to sometimes see things in a table than in a big paragraph. So you can see that this response is happening. Here's 5 topics, topic description. So you can see that it, gets into this table. It's giving you some good topics here. It's like basics of AI, history, how it can be used, etc. So cool, this is good. Here's a use, I do this all the time because I spend a lot of time teaching people to use AI, but you can say like, hey, brainstorm with me some ideas and then put it into this format, right? Called a table, or you could say, put it, just in a blog post. So what I would do something like this now, and here's why I like this side-by-side notebook mode. I can just add to it. I can say, so now take the topics in this table and write me a, 150 word invitation to a training session on Friday, March 8th in the cafeteria at noon. Say it in a friendly and funny tone. I don't want to sound like gloom and doom AI, taking over the world. So, but you see, like I didn't lose my prompt. I just continue it here. Now it's like how AI enthusiasts, like this is fine. It's pretty good. It's a great starter. I would probably add a few Donna words in here, like do the thing, all of that. So this is a use case that I use all the time. And I recommend people do it where take stuff from one format to another format, because that way you can reuse it. Now you can say, hey, write this into a one-liner that I can put into the subject of an email or whatever it is, et cetera, et cetera. So this is the Microsoft Copilot that, I find quite useful. ChatGPT, that all of you know, is very, very helpful as well. But I want to show you, you could do the exact same prompty thing in ChatGPT, but I want to show you this trick that I use quite a bit. So here I would say, and the captions are kind of blocking me from doing something right now. So I'm going to just move it up so I can see it a little better.
And Donna, somebody asked, where
Yeah.
did the first answer go after you added the second prompt?
Yeah, so right now the answer disappears. But what you can do is go back and say, there's a list of, hang on, let me go back here. You can still see this. So you see this history over here. Actually, I've turned history off. But you've got there's a history button over here where you can turn the history back on here. And oops, let me do this. And you can see all of the old results. One of the things that I'm trying to do is figure out if it makes sense to have all the previous responses there in line, because then you can get them back as well, right? So you can turn history on and go to all of these things, hang on, or you can, save them or go back to them, however you choose. Okay, so let me show you this.
One more question. There was
Go for it.
They said, someone typed, I left my computer. So they left their computer. When they returned, the window timed out. When I asked the same question, I received a different answer.
Yes.
And then it says, okay, can you see history from a prior session that timed out?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Because you can see that in Chat GPT or in Microsoft Copilot, like you'd go back and get the exact same answer from here. And in the Microsoft Copilot, in the history spot that I'm not seeing now because I moved all these windows around, you get the exact same response that you got before. But you know that thing you're seeing, this brings up a really good question. People are like, how come I get different answers every time? It is it's called non-deterministic. Okay. So
non-deterministic.
It's a computer science term. There's deterministic and non-deterministic. We're really used to deterministic, which is code always does the same thing every time. And me as a computer scientist, as a coder, I'm very used to deterministic, where I write this code, run it, and it does the same thing every single time. AI and machine learning, because it's not code, it's data. And you saw how, the LLM chose the nearest word, right? It's going to do that differently every time because it's parsing that prompt every time a little bit differently. So getting LLMs to be deterministic is really hard. It's probably the biggest challenge we're wrangling with. We're saying, how can you get the same response every single time? And the answer is, we don't know how to do that yet. We just don't. You can get close by going to temperature 0, choosing only from this data source, etc. But you're not going to get the exact same response every single time. It's the nature of AI, of generative AI, because it generates. So think of it like, say I ask you, Linda, the same question 3 days in a row. I'd get a slightly different answer, right? Because we are deterministic. We are non-deterministic animals. So from AI, we're going to get the exact same thing. It doesn't mean the AI is broken. This is just how it's created.
Excellent.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So let me show you this thing that I wish everyone would do more of, which is in your own voice. So over here, and hopefully you can still see this. Okay, I know it's a little hard. Over here, I am going to upload something I have written. This can be an email, a document. I wrote a job description. I'm going to say, I wrote a series of books a long time ago. I have a PDF of them. So I've just uploaded a book I wrote. It can be anything. It can be a paper you wrote, an article, anything, an email, and say, create an invite to, no, I can't see the box again, so I'm just going to shrink it. And tell me what I'm typing. Create invite to a morale event for 40 finance people in a financial modeling contest, and write it in the voice and tone of the attached PDF. So instead of you writing in any random voice from AI, you can choose your own voice, right? Based on the tone and style of blah, it can be like this. So now it's going to sound a lot more like me and a lot less like Chat GPT. And this is key because you're seeing a lot of like AI generated nonsense in the world, like LinkedIn posts and articles and this and that, because people aren't writing it in their own tone. But this is there, you upload some writing sample and say, write it in this tone. So yeah, this one sounds a lot more like me. This is like plucking directly things out of the thing I wrote, like a secret dream, blah, blah, blah. It's time to challenge that. It's using emojis the way I use emojis. It's doing this hero's journey thing that I did. And it's writing it almost exactly the same format that I write stuff in. So I will often do this, where if I need to generate a new article, a new email, I'll upload my own writing and say, write me an email inviting people to do this or collaborate with me on this in this tone. So
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic because I read an article the other day. It says how you know that Chat GPT wrote something, and
Yeah.
it had a list of words.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it. I was like, okay, I sometimes use that word. And then so I used LinkedIn and I said, rewrite in AI.
Yeah.
And it used the word, it was fostering.
Yes,
and I was
fostering.
like, I don't use fostering very
don't use
often.
fostering.
So sometimes if I want to rewrite something, then I'll look at it. And sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds great. And other times I'm like, that sounds nothing like I would talk. So I will refine it and put my voice in. But you're saying you can upload something in Chat GPT and say, write it in my voice.
Yes, exactly. And I recommend people do this, actually. You don't also have to upload it. You can just put a writing sample and say, just in the box itself, because it's got a lot of, what do you have? Tokens, a long, big token window. You can also do it in the Microsoft Copilot as well, because, and I promise you, I'm not trying to be an ad for Microsoft Copilot. I'm just saying this has got 18,000 tokens. So you can upload a whole thing to here and say, put 250 words and then say, generate me a new website article, whatever it is, using the tone from here. So that's something I want people to do, is get really familiar with using your own tone. And this is when I say extensibility, right? On your own data, your own actual data, or just your voice, which is probably one of the most important data points in the world, because you've curated your own voice and your own style. So let me show you a third thing. Okay, so I'm dyslexic, right? So I spend a lot of time researching dyslexia, obviously. I'm using a thing called the Edge browser. It's just like, Chrome or Firefox, whatever it is. It's a browser called Edge. It comes default on Windows. The reason I like it is it comes with the Copilot built in here on the side. So I want to show you what this can do. So you pull out the Copilot widget, and now you can do this. So now this Copilot has what we call context, okay? So it has context of this window that I'm at, looking at this Wikipedia article. So it's a Copilot Everyday Companion, that's great. I'm gonna say precise mode because I wanna summarize this page, okay? So I wanna say summarize this page into 5 bullet points. I was supposed to give a talk on dyslexia and I'm like, I don't even know how to describe dyslexia. So let me summarize this. And here I would say, in the style of Donna, a tech person who is not a medical expert, something like that. Oh my gosh, I know. So you don't need to be in an organization to do this, but here you can, it's pulling directly from there, Wikipedia, right? What I like about the Microsoft one is tells you where it's pulling from. So they're like, are you making stuff up or is this real? So if you wanted to not make stuff up, this is a good one. And it also will point to the sources. So you can check and say, people are like, what's your sources? Here, it'll tell you what your sources are. So you can say dyslexia is a learning disability, cause of diagnosis, treatment, conditions, et cetera, right? So this context is kind of good when you want to do research, right?
Yes.
But wait, there's more. So I want everyone to also try this, where same thing, YouTube. We get a lot of info from YouTube, but watching a whole video all the time is hard. So you just pull up the context window, new topic. And this is a topic on large language models. I actually watched this and learned a lot. If you're curious about large language models, I think you should watch this talk by Andre Karpathy, who used to be at OpenAI. Recently, he's left, just like last week. He invented many, many parts of large language models, so he really knows. So I'm like, summarize this video into, I love 5 bullet points because it gives me something to ground on while I watch a whole video. Bullet points. So you could do the same thing. Again, precise mode if you're doing summary. If you're doing create something new, I go to creative mode. If I'm doing summarize, tell me precisely something legalese, I use precise mode. So, but I like this because look, it gives you the timestamps, right?
Yes,
So, yeah.
that
But
is
anyway,
awesome.
yeah.
Well,
Anyway, I will
I'm
keep showing you prompts forever, so I'm going to stop sharing and come back to you. But these are some of the things where I wind up using them all the time for work. I use AI probably 4 or 5 times a day to do various things like this, because much of my work is create this thing, share this thing, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm sure for many of you, it's that.
I will share that I discovered the CoPilot and that summary. I'm currently enrolled in eCornell,
Yes.
and I was watching a video, and I was looking at the transcript because I thought I want to watch a transcript while she's talking, and I accidentally clicked on something and I saw CoPilot and it was like, oh, what's this?
Yes.
And I clicked on it and it summarized it, and then I could download it, and it was like, yes, I love this because now after I've watched her video, I can go back and go, okay, what were the key points? Instead of trying to type it, instead of stopping the video, I was able to use it. So it was really awesome. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I just kept using it and using it. It's like, okay, I need to stop. I need to stop and pay attention.
Yes.
But it was really good. I'm going to go back to the chat because there have been
Yes.
several questions
There's
come
some
in.
great questions.
So I'm going to go to when you train the LLM, and then we'll go down to the others. When you train the LLM to understand how you think or the responses you prefer, does that affect the level of deterministic versus non-deterministic?
Yes. So what you're doing is there's a thing called RAG, retrieval augmented generation. All that means, fancy term for you upload some of your own data for the language model to say, the base language model, GPT-4, right? Chat GPT. What it's doing is it's putting a layer of RAG, retrieval augmented generation, aka your data on top of it. So it's saying in the order, prioritize your data first, and then fill in any gaps using the data from the model itself. So the magic of the model is generating stuff. But instead of generating random stuff, it's going to use your data. Like you saw what it did with my document called Do the Thing, where it's still able to put sentences together and do all that stuff, but it's only using stuff from my document. It's using my tone, it's using my words, it's using the words do the thing. It's using my same format and same framework. So you are not training a model. The only people who train models know they're training models. They're like off somewhere training models. What you're doing is you are refining a model or giving it data so it can do the job better. And this is also not fine tuning. A lot of people think they're fine tuning models. You're not. If you're fine tuning models, you're fine tuning models because you need to set up like a giant data cluster elsewhere and have a lot of GPUs and compute and all these things to actually do any of these things.
Okay. All right. Now, here's another question for you.
There's a good privacy question that I'd love to answer.
Yes. So, I see. Well, we'll start here. What are some of the negative aspects of uploading your own documents, work product to this and asking it to use your voice? Does Chat GPT now use your PDF for its database?
Okay, so each of these products have an enterprise version or what we call a paid version. If you're using a paid version, it will not use your data. If you're using an enterprise version, it will not use your data because what it does with what it does with the payment is it kind of snaps you a copy and sandboxes it, right? So this is now Donna's. And they're like, what you do in the sandbox, this is your problem, right? If you're using the free one on the web, it's just like Google or ads or whatever it is, right? When you search for something in a search engine and you get ads for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Yes, it's like that. That's what the free versions do. Now, what I recommend is if you're a user, like an actual user for work, that you get a paid version because I pay for all of this. And it really helps me because I know that I can put confidential stuff there, right? So the Microsoft Copilot, I pay for that version called Copilot Pro is what it's called. Because you get a bunch of stuff. You get Word, Excel, PowerPoint with the AI components in it. And I saw a PowerPoint question in here where I use this all the time. Let me just do a quick screen share to show you the PowerPoint version because I used ChatGPT to actually make this this PowerPoint. Oops, I forgot to share as I'm going here. So again, I'm not trying to sell this to you. I'm just telling you what exists.
Absolutely.
Let me see. Okay. So in PowerPoint or in Word, you see this button called CoPilot. So you click the CoPilot button, because that's what our thing's called, the CoPilot, and it will think about its existence. So you can create a presentation, create from file, or add a slide about. So I like creating presentations from files, because what you can do is upload an existing presentation and say it's going to use that same template, the same format, etc., for a presentation. Or you can upload a Word document. Say you've written like a beautiful essay and now you need to make a presentation on it. You would use that and it would generate probably any headings you have. It would make new presentations, etc. People say that's actually the best way to make a presentation is from some existing data source. I usually just start like, create a presentation about AI skilling for educators. I'd type it here. Then what I would do is grab those things from the table and just throw them in here. Something like this. For Word, I want to show you, here's my secret project called CoPilot College, by the way. But it's very unsecret, given I just showed all of you what I'm doing. Do not tell my boss what I'm doing. It's a stunt. But you can do it here too, right? So you could say like, draft me a 6-week AI training course for educators. Please include classroom prompts. Some. And I can upload a file, so it could refer to anything that I've created, like notes from a meeting. This one I feel like cheating, like what's cheating without feeling like cheating? I'll have a meeting with people, I'll grab the notes from that meeting and upload it as a reference file and create a document, then create a presentation, and I look like a genius. I'm like, eh. So here, but it does a pretty good job, like week 1, week 2, etc. But so the point is that when you pay for a version, oh, sorry, Aisha, I did not share. I just shared the window, not the screen. Let me share the
I was just about to ask you, yes.
Yeah, let me just share the Word document. So let me redo it. Can you all see it now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna do one more from scratch because I feel like this is a fun party trick. Okay, draft with CoPilot. Create a 5-week AI training program for educators. I'm dyslexic because I cannot spell. Include classroom prompts. Okay, so I can upload a file or like notes from the meeting, or I could just generate it like this from scratch. Here we go. And then it will generate this. And then we'll just talk
And
amongst
should we
ourselves.
be seeing right now? I just still see the Word document.
Do you not see the generated thing?
No.
You don't see
I
it
see the
yet.
Word document, AI for
Training
educators.
program for educators. Yeah.
Yes, AI training course for educators. So I see
Yes.
the Word document.
Yes. So now it's just generating in real time. So this is AI is writing all of this. Is it doing a bad job sharing?
Let me see. Yeah.
I'm just going to share my whole screen, and whatever
Okay.
secret work stuff you see, pretend you didn't see it. How about that?
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're going to create a new thing. New blank document. Does everyone see a new blank document?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see a little box that say draft with CoPilot?
Yes.
Okay. Create a 10-week skilling program for educators around AI in the classroom. And then you can see you can reference a file here.
Okay.
You could just generate a thing from scratch. So now it's going to think, here you go, AI in the classroom, 10-week skilling program. And now you can dig into each one of these and say, expand on this, come up with like real prompts to try for this section or real prompts to try for that section. But this is the what's called CoPilot Pro from Microsoft. So you can get it just for yourself, or you could get it for your business. But I wind up using this all the time. You can imagine. I actually built the work I'm doing right now from using this thing. But do you see it generating stuff in real time?
Yes.
Learning outcomes, etc.
Yeah. And I think, the key takeaway is all of the documents that we're always creating all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I constantly go back and leverage, oh, I want to use this PowerPoint, but I only want to use this slide. But I'm constantly leveraging Word documents. And
Yes.
at any one time I have Word, PowerPoint,
Yes.
sometimes Excel up, and I'm generating all of these things and copying and pasting. So
Yes.
that's the productivity that you're getting by using the tool. That's awesome.
Exactly it. It just saves you a bunch of time. I want to finish the privacy question, which is
Yes.
if you're using a paid version, especially if it says like enterprise guardrails, all of these things, your data is your data. No one looks at your data, mainly because it's illegal. So your data is your data. You are in charge of saving those prompts. This is the thing that people don't understand, that they're going to be in your history and your business. So if the prompts are good, save the prompt. I create my own prompt library. I just have it in a OneNote or an Evernote where I say like prompts for various things, prompts for creating Word documents, prompts for this, prompts for that. And I just save the prompt and then an example output. And sometimes I'll take the example output and say, build on this, because that's also fun. But you're going to start seeing these AI products get better, where you're going to be able to save them into libraries within the tool itself, rather than having to go through this rigmarole of like copied over there and all of this. In a year, you're going to say, wow, these tools are like basic compared to what we have now. Because you think about a year ago, it used to just be a box, right? And now there's so much more customization. You can upload a file, you can create your own thing, etc. I want to show you one thing in, I'm going to share screen again, mainly because I think this is something valuable. Again, this is a paid thing. It's very useful. Please ignore all my work that you are now seeing. In OpenAI Chat GPT, if you pay for a version, and I'm going to move this so I can see it better.
That's fantastic too, because somebody asked, what's the difference between a paid version?
Yeah.
You know, what are you getting with a paid version? So it's perfect that you answered the question.
Yeah. So with the paid version, you do get that enterprise protection. Like your data is your data. No one uses any of your data to train anything. So that is one thing. The other one is there's a thing called GPTs. So say you wind up using it a lot, or you're using the same kind of thing over and over. You're like, write in the voice of a legal professional, or write in the voice of this or that. You can create what is called a GPT. So if you get the paid version of ChatGPT called ChatGPT Plus, you get this thing. And soon in Microsoft Copilot, this is there too, but I'm just going to show you in ChatGPT for simplicity, since most of you are familiar with this tool. You can create your own. So over here, you can get a bunch of these like pre-made ones. You can see I've made one called Do the Thing Diva, which is just all of the books I've written uploaded into a Donabot, right? And then I made one for product manager as well, because product management is the kind of work I do. But you can also create your own, and you would say create, and you would just say, what do you want this thing to do? You'd say, I want a legal assistant. And it would, the more information you give it, the better. And it would just generate you one. So they have this GPT store where you can put them into a store and sell them if you want that to your business. I personally find it very useful. How about we name it Legal Guide? What are some of the things that you do? So using natural language, you can build an assistant, and this now stays. And you can configure it and do all this stuff later. You can say like, explain these, here's some conversation starters for it. So if you wind up using this a lot, this is actually very, very useful for having a permanent one that, you don't need to reset and like reteach it every single time. I use that Do the Thing one for career advice, and then I use the product manager for my day-to-day. So that to answer the question, do you have to reteach it every time? No, you don't. With the Microsoft Copilot, if you're doing the Copilot Pro version, you will also get GPTs. And I'm going to make one for every part of my job. I'm not kidding. Like speech writer, like AI trainer, speech writer, product manager, computer scientist. I'm just going to create a GPT, because then it has my voice, my documents, my tone ready to go. And I don't need to go through like, use this code to generate new code, use this document to generate new documents.
So you create the GPT.
Yes.
And then, so if I want to have a GPT on, I'm going to make up something, a GPT on fashion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I could create my own. And then
Mhm.
each time if I'm talking about fashion, if I want to do something, I already have my own repository of
Yes.
data. And
Yes.
I can create all of that and just go,
Yes.
hey, create a presentation on wearing red, what
Yes.
colors to wear during Women's
Yes.
History Month. And
Correct.
it can put that together either in slides or whatever it is I
Yeah.
want to use it for.
Exactly.
That's wow.
Yeah.
That
Mhm.
is, see, I mean, I think the wonderful thing about this is that we're actually learning, there's a lot of the fear part of this, right? And not to say that we shouldn't be cognizant of some other things, but this is getting to real application of this is how we can see this. So this is fantastic. A question for you.
Mhm.
Can you use CoPilot with podcasts as well?
Yes, you can. So if you've got a link to a podcast, you can just put the link and say, tell me, 5 points from this podcast. I use it for podcasts a lot. I have extreme trouble listening to podcasts. So I wind up, people are like, oh, this is a great podcast. I'm like, tell me 5 good takeaways for a fashion designer for this podcast. I use it all the time, all the time. And then there is a thing I wanted to talk to you all about, which is, do we have time for me to share with you one set of slides? Because
Sure.
this one I feel is actually really important for this group to see, which is about women redefining the workplace. Okay. So one of the things that I don't like is that women didn't have a say in really defining the workplace 50 years ago. And it was defined to be kind of crap. Okay. So the way, oops, sorry. I want to share this right here. Let me just go back to, um, I usually don't do sessions with so much back and forth, but I wanted to give you the latest, which is why I'm being so disorganized. Okay. So the way work environments are set up are 2 key dimensions, right? They used to be time and space. And for the 90s, like from 1950 to 1990s, traditionally you were like in an office 9 to 5, everybody. And that's how much we worked, 40 hours a week. Then with the internet, now you can do email from home. And now we're added a dimension of work, right? Which is you could work from other places, mostly 9 to 5. Thanks to the pandemic, now we have 4 dimensions of work. Now you can work from home, from work, but you can work, at the office, at home, at night during 9 to 5. Now we're adding a new dimension called intelligence. And with intelligence, it's about to be this big shift in how we work, because the way AI fits in is it's adding this new dimension of where you get your information from. Before, you'd get your information from the studies you did in your own head or people around you. But now, what you're seeing is, Linda, I want to make sure people can see my screen in case they can't.
I can see it. Are
You can
we
see it.
having a
Okay, cool.
challenge?
All right,
Yeah.
cool. So before, the place of work used to be, you choose your place of work or office or home, whatever it is. But now the knowledge you're getting can be people around you or an AI tool. So this will redefine how we do work, because you're not only relying on the data that you have in your head or the people around you, but you actually have the data of the universe, right? But I want people to think of AI as a calculator where you take all of your ideas, your concepts, etc., put them into a thing and you get some results. And it's up to you whether you use it or not. So it's like more of a calculator for words or ideas than it is some magical thing that's going to take your job, right? And a lot of people are freaking out like, oh my God, what does this mean for my job? Leaders are so in on AI. They were like, we should learn it, but they don't think their people know how to use it. And honestly, the stuff is really straightforward. I gave you a basic tutorial, but these are the building blocks that you could do anything with. And I do believe everyone has a role to play. Like there's machine learning people, which some of you have said you're working on doing. Linda, you said your daughter is like, or people are, right? They're doing machine learning AI work. Then there's people who are experts in the business space. This is most of you. You're an expert in some sort of a space. So figure out how to use AI for that. And then there's people who are data experts, like they clean up data, they do data security. You're going to be in business for the rest of your life and forever. Then there's people who build things, like I build GPTs. Some of you might build, programs for your business, whatever it is. You're going to use AI to build those things. And then there's a new role called the AI validator. In the future, there's going to be people who use AI to do jobs, and then people making sure AI is actually correct. And you can see there's a lot to correct here. You have to go through and say, like, is this AI really biased in my industry and not giving me good legal advice? Is this AI deployed to the right people? And how do I teach people to use this? So this AI validator job, you're going to see as many titles: verifier, validator, red teamer, insider, IT admin, AI administrator, AI transformation person. You're going to see so many job titles pop. That is where we are going to shine, because we are going to hold keys to the kingdom. And this is a job title, you know, it said like 100 million new jobs can be created. This will be one of those 100 million, right? One category out of those 100 million.
So how do you, so in that particular example, because I'm fascinated by AI validator. So, I mean, if you're pivoting, right, and I'm going to get to some more questions, everyone, but if you're pivoting and you say, okay, yeah, I'm bought in, I want to do this. How do you get started? How would you, what recommendations do you have for our audience if you want to be an AI validator or move into this space?
Yes. So one of the things that is key is identify your own processes, right? In the job you do on a day-to-day, just write down all the steps and figure out how you can use AI for each of those steps. Some of them you can't. Some of them it's go out and give a presentation to all of you beautiful people. I'm not replacing myself with AI. I love this. This is fun. But use AI to help create something specifically for your organization. Yeah, I can do that. Use it to go parse maybe all of these questions that came out of it and write like a follow-up email and answer all of the questions. Yeah, I can use it to do that. But I will tell you, the thing that's going to be incredibly, incredibly relevant is humanity. Like, this human to human contact is not going away. And you're going to start seeing a premium price tag on anything that is human created and curated. I run a fashion company, and anything that's handmade like this, there's a premium price tag, because it's like, hey, it's handmade by those tailors over there in Seattle, Washington, per your size. So that carries a premium price tag compared to, you know, going to Macy's or JCPenney and buying something off the rack. So soon you're going to see human created and curated data and information as having this premium price tag. And I personally am very excited for that, because that is where we are going to thrive. Because all of this information that we have over the years, it's going to shine.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, let's get to more, and thank you for that. Let's get to more questions. So someone says, I have a tactical question. I see you have Copilot icon in the toolbar in PowerPoint and Word. That doesn't show up for mine. What might that mean? Do I need to upgrade?
Yeah, what you need is a thing called, if you're using it for home, you want to use a thing called Copilot Pro. Just look up Microsoft Copilot Pro, and it's the version of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc., that has Copilot in it. And it also gives you that GPT's concept where you can make your own GPT to do stuff. If you work in a company that has Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc., you'll want to have a chat with whoever the admin is and say you want a Copilot or Microsoft 365 Copilot license, because they probably bought some. Most companies have bought a bunch, and they give it to people who ask, which is funny. I said, just give it to everybody. They're like, we don't know if they'll use it. So I said, okay, fine. So, but if you ask, you can probably go get a license, your admin, to buy them, because you buy them in batch and then they're discounted.
So is there a license for the creation of the GPTs themselves? Do you have to have a special license for that?
Yeah, because again, it's your data. Anytime it's your own data, that's what you're paying for. I recommend people pay for it if you use it a lot for work. For personal stuff, I care less. Like, I was making a winery tour of Italy. I care less. I'm like, sure, you can use my data. That's fine. But if I'm using it for work, like creating this PowerPoint presentation, there's a lot of proprietary data in here, right? There's a bunch of like my intellectual property, etc. And anything that, at first, you know, a lot of these things are free to see if people use them, but as people start using them and want to upload their own data, it's like, no, pay for it. Like, truly, truly pay for these tools. And I pay for way too many AI tools. I think I pay for, I'll list them. I pay for Chat GPT Plus. I pay for Copilot Pro. I pay for GitHub Copilot for whoever's asking, they're a software engineer. I pay for GitHub Copilot to help me write code, because I code for a living. And I pay for Midjourney to do image generation. So those are my four. And then, you know, as we create like the video maker thing, I'll probably pay for that as well. But I really recommend people pay for it just for data protection. And you also get the latest stuff. You're never going to have outages. You're not going to have like not available. If I'm going to use AI to do my job, I'm going to use AI to do my job, right? So once you figure out your usage patterns, then go pay for it. But if you're not using it at all, don't pay for it yet. Go figure out what your usage patterns are and then start paying for it.
Can you, and if you have a question, because we're not all on camera, if you have a question, then please make sure and type it in the Q&A or in the chat, because we can't, we're not seeing everyone on the screen. So I see somebody has their hand raised. So if you want to type it in the chat, that's the best way for us to get your question. Do you happen to have any specific resources for learning how to use CoPilot to write code?
Yes.
Software engineer here looking for tips and tricks to using
Yes.
it in my day-to-day coding.
Perfect. So the free way is to just into Chat GPT and say like, write a function to do blah, blah, blah. Rather than writing a function, I prefer algorithms. So I would do like, let's say I was making a checkout system, right? Like, hey, I want to do checkout for my fashion site. I'd be like, write me JavaScript code for a checkout system for a fashion company. Take that JavaScript code, put it into your IDE, your dev environment, and then massage it as you will in whatever language you're doing it in. I have to do this a lot because I'm a C dev and I have to do a bunch of JavaScript now, which is annoying. So I'll upload C code and say, write this in JavaScript for me. I'll do this constantly. It's very funny. But if you are more advanced, then that one you can do for free in ChatGPT because that data is not proprietary. There's a lot of like checkout systems in the world that's open source, right? If you are serious about using it and at work as a software engineer, you are going to use GitHub Copilot. Like that is a fact. When I do technical interviews for devs, I actually make them use ChatGPT. I make them use GitHub Copilot. I give them a month subscription. I say, learn to use it, come to the interview because you're going to use it to do the interview. So get familiar with GitHub Copilot. Yeah, as you get closer to graduating and stuff, get used to it because you're probably going to have to use it at your workplace. And then there's a question, there's a really good question here around using AI to write stuff. Plagiarism. Okay, so here's the thing about plagiarism. That concept is going to disappear because what is plagiarism in the era of AI? Because, oh, I copied this from AI. Where's that from, right? What is it pulling from? Is it the source directly? If it's pulling from the source directly, then yeah, that's plagiarism. Cite the source. But anyone who says they can detect AI is wrong. Every AI detector, and please write this down and tell everybody, every AI detector in the world is wrong. It is just wrong and incorrect. I see students getting accused of cheating, people at work getting accused of cheating. Like, no, AI detectors cannot detect something is written by AI or not. The Turing test, we passed it. We're incapable of deciding whether something is AI generated or not. Sometimes it sounds like it because you use the word fostering, this and that, because it sounds that's like obvious, right? But are we able to use systematically, be able to say this is generated by AI? And the answer is no. And teachers are trying to do all sorts of things. They're trying to say, oh, was this all pasted into the Google Doc at the same time? Like they could have written it somewhere else and pasted it in, right? So all of those things are going to change dramatically. In a year, this will look so different. Just these conversations will be different. I think it's used AI. Yeah. So that thing where the student says he used an AI checker to confirm, all of those AI checkers are scams. Anyone who says upload this and I'll tell you whether it's AI or not is a scam. It's like saying upload this person's name and I'll give you their phone number and their address and their salary. It's a scam, 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 scam. Do not waste your money.
Excellent. Wow.
We've asked
yeah.
Google's Do It AI. I don't have experience with that, but I have experience with Gemini, which is very good. Honestly, it's quite good. Gemini is very, very good for like math. It's good for coding. It's good for these sorts of things.
Can you share quickly about Gemini real fast?
Yeah. Okay. So Google has a model called Gemini. Okay.
It was Bard, right?
It was Bard. It was Bard. Before then, it was called something else. But Gemini is the model from Google. You're going to see it. I think it's already maybe integrated into some versions of Gmail, Google Docs, Google Sheets, all of those things. If it's not integrated, it will be integrated soon. So Gemini has the same kind of, it has the same sort of training data as Chat GPT, like large, right? The internet. And it also is connected to the web. So you're getting responses from both the large language model as well as the web. So in that way, it's more powerful sometimes, but it will also point to random data sources sometimes. So you kind of balance. But honestly, they're all very, very similar. There's no one where you can say, this is so much better and everything else is terrible. It's just the use case. So I recommend people just learn to use the tools, like learning to do prompting, learning what are good prompts for your business. I see a lot of questions around what are good prompts. It all depends on your business. And I tell everybody the best way to prompt is to say, how would you train an intern, your intern from last summer? How would you train them on the core functions of your job? What are the key things you would have them do? So write those things down and then use them in prompts and refine them. That's probably the best thing. Because my intern, I was having them make me a strategy paper, write a 30-minute PowerPoint presentation on AI scaling, write me code to make a website for this thing. Exactly the same thing. So however you train an intern, you go back and do that with the AI product. But what I really want this Women's History Month is for every woman this month, right? We're only on March 7th. By March, end of month, 30th, I want all of you to have an AI use case. Like every single one of you, find a use case for AI in your life, because then you're going to be able to see, yes, it's powerful, but also it's weak. Like you are the one with the superpowers because you have all these decades of experience doing your job and living and doing stuff, right? So you're going to see that, yes, AI is so powerful for these parts, but I am so powerful for other parts. But every single one of us is going to become an AI operator at some point. So let's flexing those muscles. Let's get going flexing those muscles and building them. Because the more expertise we have and the more expertise we can talk to, the better jobs we're going to get.
An AI use case by March 31st. And I know that's 31 days in March because that's my birthday. My birthday's on Easter. So, so an AI use case by March 31st, every woman here.
Yes.
All right. Another question. Someone said, sorry, be a bit slow. Hey, no worries. No worries about that. No
All
one's
good.
slow. We're all here learning.
Mhm.
I heard you say to try out the free tools first. Oops, I scrolled past it. Try out the free tools first, then decide what you might need to buy. CoPilot. So then decide if you want to purchase a subscription. Is there a way to try out CoPilot for Word or PowerPoint in a free version, then decide if you want to purchase the subscription?
So we don't have that yet because of the huge demand, but we're going to make a monthly one soonish, where you could try it for a month and say, yeah, this is good. And then you can go buy it for the year. But that one's not here yet. It just became available to consumers like last month, because up until January, it was only available to organizations with like 300 licensees or more, mainly because it's the GPU shortage. We've got a huge GPU shortage, which are those fancy chips that make AI happen. So it's the GPU shortage in the universe, but keep a lookout. You're going to be able to see that the month subscription that you could try to see if it's useful for you. But in the meantime, what I would do is just use the free tools for now and figure out, oh yeah, it would be great to jam this into a PowerPoint. Like glom the scenarios together right now, right? Say, here's the thing I would like to write a PowerPoint about. And if I was to give a presentation, what would each of the slide titles be? So kind of hack it together and say, if I was creating a PowerPoint presentation, a 10-slide PowerPoint presentation on this topic, what would each of the slide titles be? Just do something like that. And it's like still manual labor, but you'll figure out how often you use it. And my thing is, if it's something I use, if it's going to save me, I don't know, an hour a day, that's worth it for my time, right? That's worth it for me. So that's when I went out and started buying all these. I said, oh, I do this. I need an hour of my day saved every day. It's invaluable, right? Of my work day.
Excellent.
Yes.
Question, can you excuse me.
You okay?
Yeah, I just need to take a drink. I'm just so I'm so choked up. So can you tell free Chat GPT, can you tell it to forget something?
So Chat GPT, yeah. So you just say new chat and it's gone, all context gone. You could do that for the other versions too. You can just say like, anytime you say new chat, gets rid of the context. It'll keep the context until it times out or you say new chat.
Okay.
So that's why I say like, hey, if you're starting a new context, start with new chat. Otherwise it keeps that context for the session that you're in.
Okay. Another question, does Donna have a list or cheat sheet of favorite prompts, usage, words to prompt actions, etc.?
I'm actually going to put, it's all in the slide deck. I have like 5 prompts that I use over and over again, and you all will get the slide deck. So feel free to steal these prompts, copy them, modify them, however you choose. I'm actually, so at the end, maybe I'll drop this in the chat. I have created a training actually for people if they want to do this. So I'm going to drop 3 links that might be useful for you. And again, these are completely optional. I created them just for situations like this where people are like, hey, I need to learn more than what you shared here. So I have a workshop, a hands-on workshop where, everyone get out your laptops and do stuff. It's virtual on how to build a career in the AI verse. So how do you become an AI expert for your business? And really learning like for each of your career niche, like how do you build a career niche? So say you work in data or you work in law or you work in finance, whatever it is, what do those jobs look like? And it's having people who've done that thing, migrated from normal job to normal job plus AI, come and share their stories as well. So I have a hands-on workshop. I've also got an AI course. It's a 2-hour course, standalone, take it on your own. And then you can also get in touch with me. So I've dropped those 3 links there. The first one is Dona AI Workshop. Second one is Dona AI, which is the course. And the third one is just how to get in touch with me. But you will get the slide deck. It has the prompts. Use. And if there's prompts that you find very useful, do share them with people in your life, because people who are like you can really benefit from your knowledge and your expertise. And it'll really showcase you as somebody who gets AI. I started my journey, I'm a normal software engineer. I migrated to AI a year and a half ago, just by learning to use the tools and then becoming very curious about why is it responding like this? It's so strange. Then I went down a rabbit hole, and that's how I found out about all this machine learning business and had to pull out my machine learning knowledge from 1997 to learn to do this.
Another question for you. What
Yeah.
would be your recommendation for companies as they adopt CoPilot in their companies?
My recommendation is, we'll have lots of them. First of all, I think they absolutely have to create internal champs programs, because one of the reasons adoption fails is that there's no governing body in it. There's like someone who bought it in IT, they're like, here, use it, and then they move on with their lives. That is going to fail because this is a new model. This is not like, oh, everyone knows how to use it. But companies, they act like everyone knows how to use it. I said, it was only introduced a year and a few months ago. This has not been around since the beginning of time. So don't act like it's something we should all know about. So don't feel bad if this is all new information for you. It was only introduced a year and a half ago to a research community. And now we're expected to have it be our mainstream life. That's random. Imagine if a car came out a year and a half ago and we're all expected to drive. That's so random. It just wouldn't happen. So one of the things companies need to do is create an adoption program. And that is what my CoPilot College secret document I showed you is. How do you build an adoption program for your business? And I think there's 3 major parts to it. One is identify some victims, right, in the company who are very passionate about this. So someone in legal, HR, finance, operations, the different business units outside of just tech, and say, would you be willing to wrangle like a champs community in your organization? Because finance use cases, legal use cases, IT use cases. So pull together some of your friends who you think are very curious and create like a learning series. Here's a set of learning tools. Here is Donna's 6-week skilling program, adapted for finance. And every Wednesday or whatever, have a lunch and learn and do the prompts together and learn to use them. Within your business unit, create a prompt library for finance, create a prompt library for legal, HR operations, and then teach people how to use those to do their jobs. So this kind of adoption program is what has to happen to let this actually work within enterprises and companies and educational systems and governments, et cetera. Without that adoption piece, AI is not going to work. Like it's really not going to work. And companies can say, how come no one's skilled? And they're going to blame the workers, which is
Right.
annoying. I said, no, 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 no. And when I talk to CTOs, and I talk to CTOs every day, that's where I'm going to go next. I yell at them. I say, do not blame your workers for not knowing how to use a thing that none of us knew about a year ago, right? Don't get creative with me. If you don't put an adoption program in place, AI deployment is going to fail. That is a fact. That's how we did it. That's how you're going to do it. And I give them the spiel and they say, okay, Miss Smarty Pants, give me an adoption program. And I said, okay, I'll give you an adoption program. That's why I'm writing up to give to them so they can deploy it in their companies.
You know, and I am so glad that you said that, because, you know, there are some people, and I was in a conversation last week with someone, they were like, oh, well, you haven't done this yet. And it was like, I mean, isn't this new? Why is it an expectation that everyone just magically knows? So
Yeah.
if, you know, we had people join us today that hadn't heard of these things, that is perfectly acceptable. It is not a given that you are just going to naturally understand through osmosis. You're going to have to attend things. You're going to have to write. You're going to have to play with it. That's how you're going to learn. And so anyone that says, oh, well, you just don't know that, then, you know, like, you just haven't been in a driverless car yet, which I have, by the way. But
Right.
I mean, come on. Yeah. So there's one last question, and then I'm going to wrap us up. What courses would you recommend for high school girls interested in STEM to learn AI and think about what they want to major in, given AI is disrupting education and expectations of engineers? Great question.
Beautiful question. I love that. And I recommend actually for everybody is to take, there is a, what is it called? A machine learning for beginners course free on Coursera. And I recommend everybody take that because it doesn't matter if you don't understand everything. It'll give you the language. So many things that I find women and girls to be nervous about is they don't have the language. They say, I don't want to sound stupid. Everyone will correct me, mansplain me. I'm like, yeah, unless you go learn the language. And then people won't. Do you know how many men correct me on AI? Nobody. Why? Because I learned something. It's shocking. It's the first time in my career men don't correct me. If I write code on C++ on Twitter or on LinkedIn, some guy's like, well, that's not how you write code, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I was making a funny point, but please shut up. In AI, nobody corrects me. Why? Because I learned the language very, very early last year, very early. But so I'm just going to write it here, machine learning free course on Coursera. I think it's by Stanford and deeplearning.ai. I took this. I made my team take it. You don't need to do the whole thing end to end. It's more giving you the language on how to do it. And it's way more fun to do in a group, by the way. So get like a little study group going. And if I find other ones, I will shoot them to you all because I think this is so, so, so important for us to get into the not consumer at the end of the day in 10 years learning it way, but being a participant in creating work in the AI verse, right? It's so important for people like all of you, all of us, because you're from all these different jobs and disciplines. Everything is going to get, AI-ified. It's better we decide how it's being AI-ified.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much, Donna. I mean,
Welcome.
the feedback's coming in. I think we could go for like another hour. I mean,
I could go for
just,
days on
and
this. Is what I do for a living.
well,
Yes.
and that's what you do,
Yeah.
right? So this is fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm going to share, you've answered all the questions. I had some
Okay.
more, but you got to those as well.
Love it.
So I'm going to share real quickly what I'm reading. I'm
Mhm.
reading right now Unmasking. I'm listening to it on Audible. I'm listening to Unmasking AI by Dr. Joy Bulamwini. I'm next in the queue after that is going to be The Worlds I See by Dr. Fei Fei Li.
Mhm.
She is awesome. I saw her speak. She's fantastic.
Magical.
And then after that, I'm reading something about face detection because there's a difference. So there's some great books out there. Download them, read them, use CoPilot to summarize them. Follow Donna on LinkedIn. Follow her. She's given you information. Reach out to her. Thank you so very much for joining us. There's so much to learn, and I'm going to challenge you before the end of Women's History Month. You're going to have an AI use case, and
Yes.
please share something on LinkedIn about what you're going to do with AI. Thank you so much. And Joy, I'm going to give it to you for a final thought.
Yeah, Donna, this was amazing. I have pages and pages of notes. I'm so grateful that you're going to be sending the slides to us. And for those of you listening today, it is recorded. So I know Amber, our communications director, will be sending this out because I know this is one you'll want to go back to over and over again. So Linda, thank you again for your leadership and finding just a topic that was amazing for us today. And Donna, thank you for joining us and just sharing all these nuggets of wisdom with us as well. And hope to see many of you at other Women in High Tech events that are upcoming. Thanks again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.